everyone, my name is Asanda Mbai and I am the digital journalist at the Citizen newspaper. So today we are here at the Westpark Cemetery to have a chat with Mr. Reggie Moloi, who is the Westpark Cemetery manager, who is going to tell us more on the topic of the shortage and crisis of burial sites here in Johannesburg.
Let me first qualify this. I only speak for the city of Johannesburg. Not South Africa, not Africa, not any other municipality except the city of Johannesburg, because that is where our jurisdiction is. You see, issues of burial space are a worldwide phenomenon. People die, people need to be buried. Cemeteries need land. Cemeteries are pieces of land that are used for nothing else but burial. After that, it's standing there, consuming money because it needs to be maintained and all that. The spaces are diminishing, especially in the advent of the COVID-19 that we had 2 years ago. That hit us very hard because in the 2 months of 2021, April, May, we did a lot of burials, 5,588. And that by itself has taken more than 2.5 hectares on its own in just that month, July. So obviously, like your question says, we need to come up with innovative measures to see how we mitigate the loss of burial space. In Johannesburg, what we've done, we didn't start because of the COVID. We already started this 5 years ago. We are doing a project awareness campaign through our marketing department where we are promoting alternative burial methods. Now, alternative burial methods comprise of second burial, meaning families using the same grave more than once. Previously it was only 2, now we are encouraging 3 family members in one grave. Please understand, family members, not unrelated people in one grave. Family members, meaning the family has to come, apply to say we have a bereavement. So the wish of our granny was to be buried with Umkhulu. Then we will do that, we apply. But then 2 of our cemeteries in the north, Waterfall, and in the south, Olifantsvlei, we've now decided to dig a bit deeper, 3 meters, meaning we are now doing, we can do 3 burials per family. Each family can have 3 of its members buried there. Over and above that, Joburg has a total of 37 cemeteries. And out of 37 cemeteries, there's only 4 that are active. By active, we mean the ones that are still using new graves, which is this one, Westpark, Olifantsvlei in the south, Waterfall in the north, and Diepsloot in the far north in Diepsloot. Those are the only 4 cemeteries. Now, having 37 cemeteries but 4, one needed to come up with some plan of how do we mitigate in ensuring that the current space lasts for future generations. That's why we said all the 33 cemeteries, we need to go back to them. Find space that was during the time when space was still a luxury. There are those areas where space was left bigger on the sidewalks in the cemetery. We are using those now to bury so that it's not just a big sidewalk on a cemetery and there's nothing there. And 2, we are going back and saying to families, you can go back to, let's say, Doornkop in Soweto, or Florida Cemetery, Maritzburg Cemetery, wherever cemetery that are full. You can go if you have relatives. When you have a bereavement, apply to us. We will open that. 3rd, we are saying we can recycle a grave, meaning those old graveyards like Doornkop, like Maritzburg, like Florida, Fendale, Lenasia, Mansfield in Soweto, Dobsonville. They are old, over 30 years old. The burials that happened, they were single burials. So family can come to us and say, can you recycle this grave for us? Because graves in Joburg, they are owned on a lifetime by the families. Once a family has bought a grave, it's a lifetime, then they own it. So we are encouraging to say, let us recycle it for you. Meaning, whatever pieces that are still there, normally it will be the skull and some of the long bones. Other than that, there's nothing. No box, nothing, but the clothes are still there. We can take those, put them in a small box, put them in the same grave at the bottom, but have space for 2 more burials on a clean grave, but belonging to the family that is requested. The last one being the 4th one, it is cremation. We are saying to people, please cremate, reserve the space that we currently have for future generations. Reason for that is, the cemetery land is the same land that will be required for housing. If you can't do housing, you can't do cemetery. If you can't do cemetery, you can't do housing. If it's land waterlogged, you can't do housing or cemetery. If it's rocky and dolomitic, you can't do housing, you can't do cemetery. So there is these competing factors for land in terms of cemetery versus housing. We know people want houses. They will die later, not now. They want housing. So that's why we said, let's come up with innovative measures as the cemeteries in Johannesburg to try and encourage people to look at different things. There's now a new thing, okay, we don't have it in Joburg, called cremation. It's cremation, but with water now, not with fire.
How does it work?
Bishop Desmond Tutu, the same situation happened where they took the body, put it in alkaline solution, and the body dissolved. And then what happens? They take the bones, grind them, give the families as ash. The only difference is that there's no emissions in terms of smoke, there is no fire itself in terms of lighting, there is no gas, it's just water and alkaline solutions. So we are looking at that also, because with that we are saving space on the ground. And we are also cutting costs for families. Because reusing a grave, some of the graves have tombstones. You don't have to buy a new tombstone. You just need to go and polish this one and write the second name on it. With cremation, sometimes you don't even need a gravestone because it's ash. Either you're going to store it at home or you come to the cemetery. There is wall of remembrance where we put the ash with a smaller kind of plaque and you write there. That's saving cost, unlike going to buy a big tombstone when you do. But what we do not do, we do not force people not to use a new grave. If it's their choice that they want a new grave, so be it. But then they are given these options to say there is these options. Of course, they are cheaper than a new grave. A new grave here is about 3,000 rand, 3,200 here. But when you go outside, it's about 2,000, 2,003. Now, when you do a reopen, it's around 400 rand to reopen the grave. Now, remember those costs do not include your costs in terms of the undertaker, the box, the funeral, the food, and all those things. But we're saying when you come to us, it's much cheaper. Even for cremation, it's much cheaper than burial itself. You understand? So those are the things that we're introducing to the people of Joburg, purely because everybody comes to Joburg. And these days, people don't come to Joburg to work. They come here to stay. Because that's where you find work and you stay there. Now, migration to the city is much greater. There was a time when the city had 5 million people. Right now, we're sitting almost with 6.5 million people in the city. That is in terms of the previous tests that were done. So we need to come up with plans. Basically, that's what we're doing in Johannesburg.
So with all those processes being mentioned, would you still consider vertical cemeteries as an option?
You see, vertical burial has challenges. The box is 2.2 meters long. Our holes are 2 meters or 3 meters. Okay? Now, one of the reasons why we're burying horizontal, there are regulations that govern that. And 2, it works for us in terms of multiple burials. Now, if boxes are going to be upright, how is your grave? What is the size of the grave? The regulations require that there should be almost 300 millimeters of soil on top of a grave before the ground. Reason for that is so that dogs cannot smell and start digging, rotting flesh and all those things. So vertical burials, I don't think it's a good idea. It cannot work here. How are you going to dig them? What machine is gonna dig a hole that is vertical? Because boxes are square. Do you understand? How deep is it gonna be?